Welcome back to Healthcare Sucks. And I'm back very fast tonight because I'm on it like a hurricane. Yeah, like a hurricane. You know that song? Love You Like a Hurricane? Go ahead, tell me who it is. I know you guys know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to spoil it. And then there is going to be really soon another one whose last part is Priest. Breaking the law, breaking the law. Yeah, you know that one too. And that's what's going to be chaotic with all the shutdowns, the law enforcement and stuff. Law enforcement is cowering and hiding right now, and I don't blame them, guys. They don't want to take it home to their families because there is good cops and bad cops. You know, honestly, I've seen both sides, and who would want to take stuff home to their families? The other thing is, and I've got this through several under the table phone calls today and yesterday, day before yesterday, that between military and local law enforcement, they're coordinating for lockdown USA. It's coming. The thing is I went into this just a little on the last video, but governors, senators, the president, you're going to have to bring people's meds out and get them to us, period. People got to have their meds. So you're going to have to get a whole fleet of little running, and you're going to have to see that the pharmacies have the meds. And if not, you're going to have to sub other things in. Well, you're going to have their death rate is going to be like nothing you've ever seen. Part two, if you're going to call in National Guard, I'm fine with that. Load up the trucks. You go dropping loads, and I mean heavy loads of groceries and stuff. Like basket fulls per person. Boom. Pull up in the neighborhood, load it. Fly over my neighborhood. I'll give you the address, guys. You can airdrop, push out. And we've got a little community center out here where I live. We'll see that it gets distributed. I personally will see that it gets distributed. It's a challenge to you, little Governors Kate. Are you watching tonight, Kate? Because you really are not impressing me. You should be signing to waive all the debts, rents, utilities, and along with this card that the president signed in, you need to kick another $500 on top of that. Period. If not more. And in addition to all that, everybody needs, on top of that, about $1,000 food stamps. And I'm not joking, guys. It's not too much to ask when you're talking trillions to the stock market and the banks again. So with that, we're watching this together, guys. I don't know what's coming. This is the good thing about watching Healthcare Sucks. Hey, I'm talking about, oh, that's me. Healthcare Sucks. And sometimes we get to watch the news together. And then you get to hear Healthcare give his opinions. Ooh. And with that, this is the Fair Use Act. Dun, dun, dun. And everything you see here is illusion. Woo, woo, woo. And now it's out of the way. We know what's going on. Come on, guys. So here we go. Back to McChecker Tugger.
All right.
Bye, Squiggly.
So the economic effect of all of this is being felt across the country. The Dow Jones has fallen almost to where it was at the start of this current administration. Meanwhile, unemployment numbers suggest the economy could shed an awful lot of jobs, maybe millions in the next month. Chief Breaking News correspondent Trace Gallagher joins us with a rundown of the state of the economy. Hey, Trace.
Hey, Tucker, we're now seeing the impact of all those shut down businesses across the country because we're getting the first unemployment numbers. And in the past 5 days, Connecticut has seen 30,000 unemployment claims. The typical number is 3,000. So far this week, Ohio has 45,000 claims. Last week, there were 6,500. And Michigan's unemployment claims are up 550%. The story is much the same in every state. In fact, New York's unemployment website crashed with traffic levels that compare to the days after 9/11. And the numbers, of course, will rise because automakers, including Detroit's Big Three, Ford, GM, and Fiat Chrysler, have now agreed to temporarily shut their manufacturing facilities. So we're not making cars and we're not placing bets, at least not in Vegas.
Sorry to cut you off. He's talking about Vegas closing. Indian casinos are going too. And what you've seen about the robots, AI and robots are going to be taking over, period. This is another thing with the one world order coming, guys. Many of you have wrote to me over the years, and we've had discussions. You're seeing the implementation, and it's coming faster than we could have ever thought.
Yes, where all casinos are shutting down. In fact, the Cosmopolitan will close in 48 minutes. The theme here is that paychecks are scarce, workers are scared, and you need only spend 10 minutes on social media to see exactly how concerned your fellow Americans are. Tucker.
They are. Trace Gallagher, thank you for that.
Yep.
Well, the coronavirus is exposing this country's dangerous, close to suicidal level of dependence on China for essential goods, goods we need to live. That has to change, of course. Right now, the White House is thinking through an executive order that would expand Buy American requirements. Peter Navarro is White House trade advisor. He joins us tonight. Peter Navarro, thanks so much for coming on. So how close are you all to issuing this order on Buy American?
Well, it's going through the final phases of it. It's basically a three-pronged approach, Tucker, consistent with what President Trump did back as candidate Trump, which is to say, buy American, make it here, deregulate so it's easy to make it here, and innovate so that it's low price to make it here and we can compete. Those are the three main portions of it. The big picture here, Tucker, is we buy about $120 billion worth of pharmaceuticals from the rest of the world. Of the 20 largest ones, which account for over 90%, fully 10 of them have already imposed export restrictions on things like protective personal equipment. And 3 more during the last crisis with swine flu imposed restrictions. So well over half. I mean, that means basically we're alone when push comes to shove. So that's one of the reasons why we have to do this.
May I stop you there? I want to make absolutely sure that our audience understands what you're saying. So there are companies in China, American companies in China, that are making medical equipment we need, like masks, and the Chinese government is saying, no, you American company cannot export that to America.
Yes.
So Tucker, this is not about China. China's a big player in this, but there's 20 different countries around the world that are involved in supplying us with our pharmaceuticals. 10 of them have already imposed restrictions, including China, and 3 of them, in the last one, did impose restrictions. So 13 out of those 20 imposed restrictions on us. That's why we have to be self-sufficient at a certain level. And the philosophy of the executive order, Tucker, is to make sure that our government procurement is Buy American. We've got $49 billion worth of medicines that we buy primarily at the VA, the DOD, and HHS. And right now, we're not enforcing Buy American. Get this, Tucker. Over 60 countries, because of our free trade agreements, are treated as if they were American. It's crazy. So one of the things I have to say, though, this order, if signed, will not interfere with any way with anything we can get to treat the current crisis. It has a blanket waiver. We'll get anything we need from any source, from anywhere, at the price we otherwise would have got it. But what it does, Tucker, is it sets in motion a long-term plan to bring that back. And in the short term, it also helps us bring advanced manufacturing to domestic soil. I've got projects that are ready to flip switches in 30 to 45 days if we can simply get the deregulation moving and the incentives for the innovation. That's where we're headed. Tucker, the other things I'm doing, I'm trying to make sure we have enough masks, sanitizers, and things like that. We're working 24/7 across the street on that.
I can tell you are. I got to say this now. I remember when you were hired in this administration at the beginning, you've been talking about this stuff for decades, and people mocked you. All your Buy America talk, make it in America talk. That's stupid. Peter Navarro was crazy, and it turned out you were completely right. Completely right. So God bless you for that. Peter Navarro, thank you.
I appreciate it. God bless you for what you do, Tucker.
Many parts of the economy have already been hit hard by coronavirus, but maybe none harder than the retail sector. With restaurants, hotels, bars, casinos, cruise ships all shutting down, many thousands have lost their jobs. The huge spike in unemployment claims around the country this week is one measure of what's happening. Most of these workers have no meaningful savings. For them, this is a tragedy, and in the current news maelstrom, it hasn't received nearly the attention it deserves. But what if the country understood that the plight of a waiter in San Antonio could materially affect people's retirement plans across the country? And in fact, it could. To a much greater extent than many of us realize, the American economy is interconnected, virtually every part of it. Think it through. A restaurant in Cleveland closes. Many have closed. In fact, every bar and restaurant in that state shut down on Sunday night. With no revenue coming in, it isn't long before the restaurant's owners can't pay their rent, so they don't pay it. This is a crisis for their landlord. He's got a mortgage. After a while, he stops paying it. The problem is that mortgage likely has been sold to somebody else. Who exactly? Well, with commercial mortgages, that's not always clear. It could be insurance companies, foreign investors, investment funds, among many others. The point is, that mortgage is no longer held by the bank down the street. It's now bundled with a lot of other mortgages like it. It's now a financial instrument. Investors have bought it with the expectation of regular income from payments that are no longer coming in. Those investors, pension and retirement funds, control much of America's savings. Now they're in trouble, and so are the people who rely on them. Families of retired auto workers in Oakland County, Michigan, firemen in Sacramento, retirees in Sun City and Cape Coral and the Villages, a lot of the country. Meanwhile, the waiters from the shuttered restaurant in Cleveland are still hurting. One of the first payments they'll likely stop making is on their credit cards. Now, no one's weeping for the credit card companies. They're still charging an average of 19% interest at a time when the Fed is shoveling cash at the banks pretty much for free. But it's more complicated than that. MasterCard will not suffer alone. As with mortgages, a lot of credit card debt has been sold to investors. Once again, America's retirement funds could take a big and unexpected hit. This is what happens when buying and selling debt becomes huge business on Wall Street.
Yep.
A crisis in one sector of the economy very quickly affects the rest of it. Everything is connected. There are no firewalls.
Enron.
Remember back to 2008. The value of real estate assets that year dropped seemingly overnight, and this didn't just affect realtors. Some of our biggest financial institutions teetered on the edge of collapse, and some did collapse. Many homeowners discovered they owed more on their properties than the properties were worth, so they defaulted, and that began a chain reaction that led to the worst economic period since the 1930s in this country. When it came time to untangle that mess, auditors couldn't figure out who owned a lot of the empty properties. The mortgages on them had been bundled and sold sometimes many times. They'd been financialized. Despite many promised reforms, that really hasn't stopped happening. Our economy is still heavily dependent on regular interest payments from the middle class. In other words, when you don't pay your credit card bill, it has ramifications that you may not have known existed. Now, this arrangement has made a small group of people fantastically rich, but has left many others dangerously exposed. We could soon learn why it matters to everyone when they close the bars in Miami. Ray Washburn is a businessman in Dallas. He operates shopping centers as well as 65 bars and restaurants. He's both a landlord and a tenant, so he's experiencing this moment from both sides. From 2017 to last year, he ran the Overseas Private Investment Corporation for the Trump administration. He joins us now. Ray, thanks so much for coming on tonight. So you've been in the restaurant business essentially since college, for probably close to 40 years. You've seen a lot of ups and downs. Have you ever seen anything like this? How is this different?
Well, Tucker, thank you for having me on tonight, because the restaurant business is much like a family. All our employees over the years have worked for us for a long, long time. We've embraced them through ups and downs, and now we come to something like this. Yesterday, tens of thousands of restaurant employees all over the country were let go, and it was like having to let family go. But there was no alternative. As the cash crunch being shut down, that there was no income to pay these people.
So what are the ramifications of that, apart from the tragedy of having to lay off people who work for you and in some cases you love? What does it mean for the rest of the country when that happens?
Well, our biggest concern, and I'm both a landlord with other restaurants as tenants and also our own restaurants, is April 1st, 2 weeks from today, is a day of reckoning, in my opinion, because you're going to have rents that are due, you're going to have mortgages that are due, and you're going to have bondholders that are due, as well as vendors that are owed money for the last 2 or 3 weeks. 2 weeks ago, everyone was having a booming year in the restaurant business, and now 2 weeks later, we're totally shut down. And so in the next 2 weeks, the Trump administration, which so far has been incredibly positively responsive to all the trade associations that have gone to them, whether it's the shopping center trade or the National Restaurant Association, they've been very responsive to our needs that we need. But really the biggest need that we have right now is business interruption insurance. Right now, business interruption insurance, which all businesses carry, don't cover pandemics. They cover things like hurricanes, floods, and things like that. They don't cover this. And so, and the same for landlords. They don't cover it for landlords. So everyone's looking at each other going, what happens 2 weeks from now if we don't get our arms around it and get the legal side of this equation figured out?
So the last question, I mean, the deadline, as you said, is April 1st. Most people, me, I'm not in business, I didn't know that. What will happen to the businesses if they don't get assistance in making that deadline? Like, will some of them not come back, do you think?
Oh, a lot of business aren't going to come back. A lot of retailers that are teetering on this internet disruption already probably won't come back. But one solution is business interruption insurance. If the U.S. government would back insurance companies and say that a pandemic is business interruption, then a lot of this can be worked out pretty quickly, and the insurance industry could work it through. It wouldn't have to be a big bureaucracy set up by the government. It would just be a government guarantee of insurance companies. And then the chain that goes all the way up between the tenants to the landlords to the bondholders, that would be the backstop. Very easy to put into place.
Right. It's amazing how complex something as simple as a restaurant turns out to be, and how key it is in the American economy. Anyway, thank you for explaining that. Ray Washburn, great to see you tonight, and good luck. Godspeed.
Okay, thank you, Tucker.
Did you understand all that? What I understood is that so far, our debts haven't been waived, guys. Your home, your car, your credit cards need to be put on hold. Your rent, if you're a renter, needs to be put on hold. All utilities need to be stopped immediately and put on hold, including your phone. Everything, period, on hold, bam, today. It can be signed that quick by your governors in each state. And on a federal level, the feds can keep down. Yet, the gentleman owns how many? 65 restaurants and 200 homes and businesses. And he expects you and I to take out of our tax monies, and along with the trillions, we're already bailing Wall Street, the banks again, and to bail out all these guys? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Now, as far as giving it to the people's unemployment and all this other stuff, yes. Give it to the people. Give it to the disabled too, the seniors, the mentally ill. Give it to all these people, the 99%ers. Give it to them instead of the damn 1%ers. I'm sick to death of us bailing out and giving money to the 1%ers. For once, they all need to crash and burn like we have. I knew people back in the Enron. One of my buddies lost everything during the Enron thing. Did they come and save his house? His car, his marriage, everything else that comes along with the crashes. There's a lot that goes along with it when average Joes lose their money. We lose our lives, most of us. And some people did lose their lives, guys. Suicide and ODs, and they're parked out there on a homeless camp bench somewhere or in a tent still. But no, they are the forgotten men and women that Mr. T was talking about. We are the deplorables that Clinton was talking about. Because those kind of people will never understand how it is to be a 99%er. And I know all you Team 99, you guys get it. We've all been there and had. And there's more coming, guys. This is far from over. And the reach, like he's saying, the one true thing that's coming out of all this is the reach is huge. This thing about selling debt and who all really owns anything anymore, that's a problem. That's a problem that we've led up to.
All of a sudden, Americans are living in a less secure world. They're feeling economically vulnerable.
Excuse me. I don't know what it is today. This thing wants to start up on its own. Literally, guys. And so, the thing of it is that we go forward we could try to have some input on this. But what we better be watching is our own butts and our neighbors, our friends, our families, and small businesses and things like that, because apparently the big businesses are going to be A-okay. Stock market pukes are going to keep on puking and making lots of money. The 1%ers are going to they're going to lose some, but it's not nothing. They've got Cayman accounts and other accounts. You guys went through that with me years ago. Even though we supposedly went after a bunch of that, we didn't. And they just transferred to another place. I think it's Holland or Swiss have accounts with numbers. You don't even know who the hell or what the hell. And they ain't giving it up. That's why they always play intermediate. You know, we're not involved. We don't get involved. Because they got all the money sitting there, guys. And there's other countries I'm not going to name because it will start an issue. But a lot of those people are bags and bags, and bags is putting it mildly, of the monies they are worth. And we still give those countries billions of dollars a year. For what? And then we protect them. Really? So with that, we're going to end this and jump into another one. If there's any food on my face, I apologize. And healthcare sucks!